Hi, welcome back to my channel. This book review is for two books. It's a dual review, and it is books number 4 and 5 in the Nikki Hunt series from Bookouture. I have the Trap ones for review for a blog tour, and so since I also had The Girl in the Ground in my NetGalley queue for the longest time, I wanted to read that book before I read book 5. So let's talk about The Girl in the Ground. Now, before we talk about The Girl in the Ground, let's talk about who Nikki Hunt is. Nikki Hunt is a special agent, and I think she's either a behaviorist or a profiler. I'm not really sure, but she's a special agent for the FBI. And she is called to a scene when they find the skeleton of a young girl. Now, there is a dual story here because the girl that had died had something to do with Rory, who is Nikki Hunt's boyfriend or her partner. They live together. And he knows the girl who was murdered. In fact, he becomes a suspect because the girl that was murdered, her name was Becky. They were childhood sweethearts. But the thing is, it's a cold case. Why is that? Because Becky went missing 24 years previously. Okay? Now, we have that story right here. Okay? But over here, Nikki can't support Rory and prove his innocence. In fact, she finds out about another murder that took place. As a matter of fact, 2 girls who were found murdered. And then there's a body that's found now. Now, meanwhile, in the third book of the series, which, let me tell you what the other books were. Sorry about that. The other books were, I want to just tell you all the books in this series. They were The Girl in the Snow, One Perfect Grave, and Lost Angels. In Lost Angels, Nikki had experienced a terrible, terrible tragedy. And in this book, in the 4th book, her life was just getting back on track. As a matter of fact, she had to take leave from work. So when she goes back to work on this case, the tension is high because, like I said, she's got over here, Rory and the fact that he's a potential or even a prime suspect. But over here, she has murders that have taken place, and she has to step aside from her personal life, from her personal drama, and find out what is going on with these girls that are dying. Here's the meat of it. It is sex trafficking. And let me tell you, any reference to this despicable thing always breaks my heart. And the most contact that I've come into it is on television fictional shows or in a fictional book like this. I'm not one for true crime. I don't watch news magazines, and I really don't watch very much of the news at all. So I'm, as much as I can, isolating myself from that. But you can't do that with this book. Okay? No, you're not going to read gory. You're not going to read details. You're not going to read the extent that these girls suffer from. No more than you would on a television show. But what you will see is that some lives have come to an end in Nikki's doggedness to find out who is responsible for what's going on. And so you're hooked, at least I was, very hooked on Nikki's story, very hooked on Rory's story, and then the curiosity as to could any of these things even connect in any possible way whatsoever. And I felt a lot of emotion when I read this book. I really did. As a matter of fact, It's been sitting in my TBR since last fall, okay? And I could have just did a DNF or didn't choose not to read it at all, but I'm so glad that I did, because you really get to see how marvelous a person Nikki is and how dedicated she is to the cases that she works on. And it's very emotional because of the victims. You feel for the victims. And so that's what what did I say the name of this one? The Girl in the Ground. Very, very deep book, and I'm really glad that I read it. All right, so now we're going to move on to the next book in the series, which is book 5, and that is The Trapped Ones. Now, in the first few lines of The Trapped Ones, Nikki makes reference to something that Rory experienced, but how he's coping with his previous experience. Now, there's no spoiler here, which would do two things. First of all, it'll make this book and even the previous book do well as standalones. And it also does a second thing, so that if you never read book 4, you're not missing anything. But I like continuity, so I read book 4 first. Another thing that, before Nikki gets into her next case, is something happened to Nikki's ex in book 3 of the series, okay? Which was Lost Angels. Now his parents want custody of her 6-year-old daughter, okay? So that is Nikki's personal drama. But aside from what she's experiencing on a personal level, she's called to a farmhouse and she finds a brutal sight. 4 victims, 3 dead, 1 hanging on for their very life. Yeah. Wow, that gives me chills. Yeah, that scene, it was hard to read. I'm not gonna lie. It was hard to read. It gives me chills. So, you've got a mother, a father, their son fighting for his life, and a fourth person, a girl. First of all, why was this family slaughtered? And who was the girl at the scene? So Nikki is able to identify her as a missing student named Jessica Chandler. And then she sees that, when she finds the body of the girl's wearing a jumper, which we know a jumper in the UK is a sweater. She's wearing a sweater that has Bryce's initials on it. Who's Bryce? Bryce is the son of the family that was murdered, and he's the one that's hanging on for his life. So now Nikki has a mystery on her hands. In fact, she has to ask, is a serial killer at him? Pardon me, I had 2 bananas a little bit ago. So, is there a serial killer on hand? And if there's a serial killer, are there going to be more victims? And then there's a missing girl. So, Nikki and her partner Liam are turning over every stone that they can to find out what happened at that gruesome crime scene. How Jessica got involved, why Bryce was left alive, and then there's even part of the story, and I'll mention it. Part of the story deals with someone's mental illness, a character's mental illness, and how that may or may not play into what's going on in this book. Okay? Now, the family that was killed is the Weber family. And now Nikki is feverishly working hard to bring justice to this situation. All the while, in the back of her mind, she's worried about the potential custody thing going on with her ex-in-laws. So, Let me tell you what all the books are, because I want you to read them. The Girls in the Snow, One Perfect Grave. Yeah, I'm going to show them all. The Girls in the Snow, One Perfect Grave. Lost Angels, the one I talked to you about, The Girl in the Ground, and this one, The Trapped Ones. Excellent, excellent series. Very, very, very intense and very, 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 very good. All right, that's it for now. Bye-bye.